Commander, the latest intelligence reports tell us that you guys should not press the like button before the video even starts or at the beginning of the video. So we need to attack the like button only in the middle of the video or midway or at the end of the video. That's the only way we can beat the YouTube algorithm. Slava Dipani. Oops. Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 209 for the 20th of September. There will be some information, just some only, from the 21st of September, and if there's any information that you did not see, that you already saw from other sources or other information or Telegram channels, sorry, because this information is accurate as per maybe 3 hours ago. So because I had to eat dinner, so I haven't had a chance to do the recording, and this is recorded live actually in front of like 600, almost 700 people. So anyway, let's start off with a few crazy stuff. So the referendums that yesterday I mentioned about, there is referendum, the whoever that council is actually caused their leader to actually do the referendum is now confirmed, and they actually, in fact, I feel that it's pretty planned. Everybody is just acting like a movie show or variety show kind of thing. So anyway, they already have a kind of all agreed upon with Russia, and that the referendums will actually happen, and they say that it will happen in the fall. Just didn't expect that they fall so quickly. So now they are falling down on the 23rd to the 27th of September. So so the referendum to join the Russian Federation will be held in the Lugansk and Donetsk People's Republic from the 23rd to the 27th. The leaders of the states announced. So this information is coming out from RT.com, Russia Today, and so they did not mention any other places. They only say DPR and LPR, basically Donetsk and Luhansk. So the head of the LPR, Leonid Peseshnik, was the first to sign the law, holding a public referendum in the Republic on the inclusion of the region into Russian Federation. So the parliament unanimously supported the move and set the date for the vote. So so that's also very democratic, right? Unanimously, man. So then it was followed by DPR, Denis Pushilin, who declared that his state will also be holding the similar referendum, which I already mentioned yesterday. They are synchronizing all their referendums at the same time. And according to additional information from Ryber, the resident of the Republic for Luhansk, who are now outside of Luhansk People's Republic, will be able to vote in this referendum. So very interesting. That means this is an online vote of sort. How will they be doing the exact procedure into verification of identity, who actually get the right to vote, all these things not so clear. I'm not so sure. So then I saw rumors, you see, online that talking about Zaporizhia and Kherson as well, and then information then come out, that Zaporizhia will be doing their referendum as well, but their referendum is not just about joining the Russian Federation. They'll have a referendum to form a state to secede from Ukraine. I believe I spelled this wrongly, and to join the Russian Federation. 3 different things. So according to the Russian pro-Russian source Ryber, so they say that everything is ready for a referendum on joining Russia, so which will be held in the near future. At this time, when they are mentioning this on the 20th of September, the date haven't came out yet. So this is according to their in charge called Saudo, and they say that they will appeal after the referendum. If successful, they will appeal to Putin to legally approve the result of the expression of the will as soon as possible. So of course, it's predictable that all this is just, you know, for sure. All these things are already decided. In fact, I'm not even sure how accurate the referendum will be. So just like the one in Crimea, you know, sometimes it's a bit hard to tell, you know, how real is the referendum. Anyway, they say that a decree was then done on the holding of a referendum in the liberated part of Zaporizhia, and in the succession from Ukraine, the creation of a state and then entry into federation will be put to a vote. And then come this information from Intel Slava. I don't know how to actually interpret this. So they say that Zaporizhia region will declare independence within the existing administration borders. That is the entire region. So is it the existing administrative border, or is it the entire region? Or is it the whole of Zaporizhia, or is it just the part where the Russian captured? I have no idea what is this supposed to mean, because I don't think they have administration over the entire of Zaporizhia. So let's see how this goes. And then there's information about Kherson as well. So the Kherson's referendum will be held on the same days with DPR and LPR, the Donetsk and Luhansk. And however, they did say, so because Kherson is a bit different, Kherson is not the kind of place where it's overwhelmingly pro-Russian. They say that citizens that have left for territories controlled by Kiev will not be able to vote in the referendum. And but they actually also, you know, ease the minds of the population that mandatory mobilization in the Kherson region after referendum will not be held. So because Kherson people, you know, are not so pro-Russia, I think, which is why I think they need to, you know, put this in to say that no, there will be no mobilization. If not, all of them will just vote no. So although I'm not so sure how are they going to monitor the citizens that left for Ukraine controlled territory. So this is, I think, because there is no passport, right, you know, between Kherson and the Ukrainian controlled Mykolaiv region. So not so sure how they're going to do that. So this is the referendum part. Then there is also another major news, which is the partial mobilization by Russia. So Russia have announced a partial mobilization in Russia, and they have signed the decree. And so they added that only citizens that are currently already in the reserves that served in the armed forces with certain military specialties and relevant experience will be subjected to conscription into military service. And those that are called up will actually undergo additional training. And this is the training will actually teach them about, you know, things that they have picked up in this special military operation, so that they will be, you know, in line with the latest way of fighting. So the numbers that will be mobilized according to Shoigu, the defense minister of Russia. Shoigu say that it will be 300,000. So 300,000, he also emphasized that it's only just over 1% of the full mobilization potential. So I was like surprised, because like 1%, 300,000 is just 1% plus. So then I actually went into the Russian Ministry of Defense Telegram, and actually I found the entire interview. They have a video interview of Sergei Shoigu, and actually they have this the entire transcript. So I have inserted two of the relevant parts. You can actually find it on the map. That the link to the map is actually in the description below, in case you do not know. So they say that this mobilization will not include those that serve by conscription. That means none of the conscripts will be mobilized for this special military operation. The conscript will only serve on the territory of the Russian Federation, which is actually kind of a trap, because if the referendum becomes legitimate, that these people or these territories all become part of Russia, then that is also part of the territory of Russia. So but ultimately it's still quite nice that they say that the conscript will not be mobilized within these 300,000 people. And he said that because of the huge mobilization resources, they have people who have combat experience. or have a military specialty. So they have almost 25 million. So the Russian reserve force is 25 freaking million. So how Ukraine is going to win, I have no idea. So for those that are pro-Ukrainian, and especially those that are, you know, in Western Europe, you know, very, very, you know, gung-ho or pro-Ukraine, I'm not sure how you're going to fund enough military equipments and mobilization or whatever into Ukraine to fight 25 million troops, because Ukraine population is only 40 over million. They have 25 million reserve, so that is half the population. So there is no universe that Ukraine is going to win this war unless Western powers intervene and triggers a World War III. So I have no idea. So this is just a fact, you know. Manchester City play against North County or, you know, Bolton Wanderers, you know the results. It's going to be a thrashing. This is exactly that's it. There's nothing pro-Russia about this. This is just fact. So they said that the 300 reserve will be called up, but they say that this will not carry out immediately. There's a plan, and then he said there's no provision in some, I don't know what the hell is all this talking about, sieve combined harvester, a sieve to capture everyone quickly, you know. So basically he said that the mobilization will be actually in stages. It will not be, you know, suddenly everyone is mobilized, but I personally think that they have already done a lot of mobilization already before this report. So so then the defense minister also updated the official Russian numbers of dead Russian dead soldiers. So almost 5,937 are dead in the Russian side. So this is only the Russian servicemen. This is nothing to do with DPR, Donetsk, Luhansk. No, perhaps it doesn't even include the South Ossetia, or, you know, the Abkhazia, I don't know how to pronounce that. So the only purely within the Russian Federation, the Russian servicemen that are fighting in Ukraine, 5,900 has died. So even though the number seems to be not that big in the grand scale of things, it's still 5,900 people dying. So so there's still a lot of people who died. But the Ukrainian side, according to the Russian defense minister, is a lot higher. So he said that out of the 200,000 or 200,000 plus Ukrainian troops at the start of the conflict, they say that the Ukrainians have 100,000 casualties. So 91,000 of them is killed, and 49,000 of them is wounded. So coming up to 100,000, that means half of the original Ukrainian force has perished within this Ukraine war over the past half a year. But this is Russian numbers. If you're anti-Russia or pro-Ukraine, you can just ignore this entire shebang. Just go and believe the Ukrainian numbers. So and there's also information about the mobilization. The Russian parliament, the State Duma, have introduced new laws into the criminal code. So these new laws includes the mobilization, martial law, and wartime. Basically, it adds new laws that saying that, you know, if you deny, if you surrender, it's actually, or you loot, you know, it's actually punishable by as a crime. It's a crime within the criminal code. And if you refuse to comply with order during martial law or wartime, then that is also a crime. And also, you know, refuse to participate in military action or hostility. That means you are being mobilized but you don't want to join. That's also a crime. So these are wartime laws, and this actually is very significant, because this actually, you know, shows that the Russian is now going into a war footing. They are no longer, you know, playing around. And this later information came out, you know, and say that the Russian State Duma have approved all these amendments with immediate effect, and the punishment for desertion is go up to 10 years in prison. So including all the other things. So not sure, you know, how serious is all this other you know, crimes. So anyway, this is not good news, because this actually shows that Russia is escalating, and it's gonna escalate into a, you know, really high level, like really war level. Although they still stop short of declaring it a war, they still call this a special military operation. So I'm not sure if Putin will actually change the wording just yet. And Putin, within his announcement, also he actually threatened nuclear retaliation. So they say that Russia is ready to use nuclear weapon and any means of mass destruction in a threat against their territorial integrity. And he said that this is not a bluff. So I trust him that this is not a bluff, although other means of mass destruction is kind of disturbing. What do you mean by others other than nuclear weapons? And so the concept of no threat to territorial integrity also is very vague. So not so sure, you know, exactly what he would mean. Would this include the newly included territories within the all these referendums? Will Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia be, you know, included within this territorial integrity? So not so sure. So that's a lot, you know, to cover before we even go into the front lines. And so we have a reaction by Zelensky towards all this news, all this, you know. He said that this there's a lot of quite noisy news from Russia, so a lot of questions, but he dismissed it. He said that, no, what are these things that, you know, they have not already heard? So they say that the Ukrainian positions are very clear and well known, and this is the only thing that he's interested in. And so he don't care about the sound from somewhere, which means he don't really care about the noise coming out from Russia. He said that he only cares about their task, and the task is more support for their military, more support for intelligence, more support for their special ops, more support for SBU, National Guards, police, border guards. So which are all integral to, you know, restoring Ukrainians' territorial integrity. So they say that the Ukrainian position will not change despite all this announcement from Russia, and they have the full support of the partners in this. So he wants to keep up the pressure. So he said that Ukraine will maintain unity, they will protect Ukraine, liberate their lands, and they will not show weaknesses. So this is a very bullish statement coming out from Zelensky against all these very scary things that is being announced in Russia. So perhaps, you know, on the Western side, the European side or NATO side, they have already discussed, you know, this possibility, and they already have some plans. If not, you know, this is a lot of very, very bullish speech from Zelensky. So so enough of the talking. Ukraine Ministry of Defense announced shooting down of one Sukhoi 25 of the Russian Air Force over Ukraine. Again, location is not mentioned. And moving on to the southern front. At the southern front, there's an airstrike being reported at Novo Odessa, and there's also an airstrike reported over here at Novo Bilohorivka. So so this distance of airstrike seems to be far. Not sure how they actually launched the airstrike, probably by bomber. So anyway, on the Mykolaiv front, at the Mykolaiv front, we have new claims. So the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense claimed there is Russian shelling at Spirne as well as at Ternovi Podi. So these two locations is under Russian control according to our tracking, and this claim that, you know, there is shelling on this location by the enemy suggested that they are actually there. So not sure how accurate. Moving on to so there's nothing else on the Mykolaiv front. Moving on to Davydiv Brid front. At the Davydiv Brid front, shelling is reported at Adriivka and as well as at Ternivka. So according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that there are workshops in this region, in Mykolaiv, there was repairing military equipment was also destroyed, but that one I didn't indicate on the map. Just want to indicate to show that there's still something happening around Devity Bridge front. And over at the Kryvyi Rih front, after yesterday's all these reports of reinforcements and regrouping, there is no fighting reported today. So the Kherson offensive kind of have died down, unless they relaunch an offensive tomorrow. If not, this looks pretty much like a stalemate as of now. Moving on to the Zaporizhia line. At the Zaporizhia line, we have no updates, no informations. You can see there's nothing. Very quiet, but there is rumors, from a few days ago that saying that the Ukrainians might actually try to launch an offensive in this region, and the Russians have reacted by sending the Chechnya forces, Chechen forces around this region. So not sure if that means an offensive, because sending the Chechen forces into a defensive position doesn't sound very natural. It seems a bit unnatural. And given that with the earlier statement where the Zaporizhia referendum is going to represent the entire administrative, which is actually by right until here. So if this is the objective, then we might actually see a Russian offensive taking the entire of Zaporizhia in the near future. However, this offensive and capturing of the rest of Zaporizhia will not be in time for the referendum. So I'm not sure how are the people living around Zaporizhia city, and the northern part of the Zaporizhia Oblast will actually agree with the referendum. So because they might actually vote differently, right? So let's see. So moving on to the Donetsk front. At the Donetsk front, fighting is continuing to be reported at Novomykhailivka. I have changed the front line of the Russian side, to show that it's actually different, a lot closer to the village, so that it makes more sense, because there is so much fighting around here. The front line should be quite near, and there is also fighting reported at Marinka. So this is both information is reported by the Ukraine Defense Ministry. Over at the northwest of Donetsk city, the Russians continue to push for Performaiske, and there is also fighting reported near Pisky. So Pisky is here, in case you don't know. This is Pisky. So Pisky has been previously captured by the Russian forces. So this fighting near Pisky might actually be a Ukrainian offensive, because the Ukrainians have been trying very hard to recapture the western side of this runway here, because there's a few defensive positions around here that the Ukrainians are very keen on keeping. As you can see along the forest line here, in this very old satellite image, you can already see a lot of shelling, a lot of holes due to shelling, and can see very entrenched positions around here. So the Ukrainians are very keen on retaking this area, but not sure to what end, because the Russians have deployed QS-1A, the flamethrower, around this region, and they have been bombarding Performaiske with this thermobaric munition for some time already. So it's going to be very difficult for the defenders to hold position in the face of such horrific weapons. Moving on, there's no fighting at Avdiivka region, and that's all from the Donetsk front. So relatively quiet. The fighting is still in the usual places. Moving on to the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, there is fighting continue to be reported at Mayosk by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and so perhaps the call about capturing Mayosk might be premature, because the Ukrainians seems to be very keen on saying that there is fighting at Mayosk, and given the insistence of this information, I might actually lean towards believing the Ukrainians that they actually may have been still very close to the settlement, or they might even have recaptured some part of it. So let's see how this goes. The Russians continue to push towards Kodyumivka, and fighting continue to be reported at Mykolaivka Druha. This is both information is also from the Ukraine Defense Ministry. And fighting is reported at Zayseve as well. And there is fighting reported at Bakhmut. This, according to Ryber, they say that they cannot confirm this information about the Russian forces, the Wagner PMC capturing the Atomov winery over here, which we have reported in the previous summary. They say that the Russians are actually controlling the junction. Let me see, the intersection in the eastern part of Petrice Lumumba. So probably around here. So or maybe it could be here, eastern part. So not sure exactly where. So there is this conflict of information. So just gonna leave it there until something is more clear come out from Bakhmut. And suddenly we have fighting reported at Bakhmutske. Bakhmutske have not seen fighting for some time already. So this is interesting. And then there is fighting reported at Soledad. So according to this piece of information from Ryber, the pro-Russian source, they say that the fighting is now in the abandoned residential area on the side of the Knopf gypsum plant. So the Knopf gypsum plant is actually this wasteland here. So they are probably fighting around here. So the mapping is a bit different because previously they say that they have captured the residential area here. But we're just going to leave it because it doesn't really matter in the grand scale of things. They are still fighting there. And that's all from the Bakhmut front. Over at the Sivas front, fighting continued to be reported at Vasily. So I have this, this pointy thing come out. However, we have information confirming that from Ryber that Bilohorivka is still under Ukrainian control. And from Bilohorivka, the southern Bilohorivka, they actually launched an attack against Berestove around here. And in fact, they actually had some success. They managed to push back the defense. They break the defense of the Russian forces. However, the Russian forces actually do a counter attack, and then they actually managed to push the Ukrainian forces out of Berestove again. So currently, the Berestove is still under Russian control. The offensive almost succeeded for the Ukrainian side. And over at Spirne, the Ukrainian forces captured Spirne, and now acknowledged by Ryber, the pro-Russian source. And as a result, reinforcements have to be called to Spirne. So part of the forces of the Wagner PMC was transferred to the Spirne region in order to recapture Spirne. So that's why fighting is here reported. It's now reported as Spirne. And there is also confirmation that the Ukrainian forces have captured Bilohorivka. So this is also reported by the pro-Russian source Ryber. And so this part here is actually captured by the Ukrainian forces. And the Ukrainian forces will now have some kind of an open route to actually go towards Lysychansk. So let me fix this border. This border looks so horrible. Why is it like that? I think it's this. Yeah, sorry. 404. Oh, so this is what happened. I actually right click and then it got dragged away. So okay. So moving on to the Slovians front. At the Slovians front, the Russians in the southeast of Liman launched a counter-offensive, and they managed to push the Ukrainians back towards the river, and so push back to Dibrova and the river. However, under our mapping, we have never seen information that the Ukrainians have captured Dibrova. So anyway, this was a successful counter-offensive that the Ukrainians are pushed back against the river. However, they still hold position at Stary Karavan, Brusivka, and Dibrova line, according to the pro-Russian sources. I believe they also have positions at Ozene. So there is also some recon offensive. So there's a recon by combat reported at Drobisheve, and they are trying to discover where are the Russian defenses, and they are trying to prepare an offensive against this position, because if you cut Drobisheve, then Liman's position will be much harder to actually hold. The Ukrainians as also know after I report. So yesterday I reported that there is a pontoon crossing at Bohorodachny. They have used the crossing to continue to send forces, and reinforcement has been reported as Fiatohurst. So most likely they actually preparing a bigger force so that they can actually send more forces into an offensive, perhaps against Yarova. And that's all from the Slovians front. And at the Oskil front, there is no fighting reported at Kupiansk. I got a feeling that the Ukrainians might not be here anymore. They might actually be pushed back across to the western side of the river, because quite unusual to have such an important position not report any kind of fighting. So anyway, that's all from the Oskil front. There is nothing out there now. So basically, this is the summary for the day of 209 for the 20th of September. And so again, I just want to remind you guys, the DPA Army, that like to press the like button before I even start the video, or before the video even load, or at the beginning of the video. I think we need to change tactic. Now we're going to click like much later in the video, so that the like button looks more legitimate. If not, I think maybe YouTube is actually penalizing us for gaming the system. So anyway, this is the summary, and I'll see you in the next update.